Hey, it's January 31st, 2026, and there's actually a bunch of stuff happening. So we're going to do kind of a news recap here. And then the second half kind of gets more into some anxiety around big tech. But yeah, let's start. So the first thing to note, there are definitely some big things going on close to home. Valley View Elementary School had a great Care 11, a local news station, program made about it, where 3 students and 25 parents so far have been detained this month from that elementary school here in Columbia Heights. That's a northern suburb of the Twin Cities. So definitely worth watching, but that is kind of the hardest hit elementary school we've seen in the metro, as far as I know, and a lot of the things that we're looking out for and have seen around the one closer to my home, we saw happen there first. That's where the little boy Liam with his blue hat was taken from. All right. Well, yesterday we saw two independent journalists that were very high profile arrested, allegedly for their role in videotaping the church service protest from about 10 days ago. So, Don Lemon and Georgia Fort, both high profile career journalists that have been reporting independently here in Minnesota, were arrested for their role recording and videotaping the protest that took place inside a church that has a not DEA, an ICE commander of the St. Paul field office as one of its pastors. The footage that I linked here is really just going to be those masked DEA agents showing up at Ms. Ford's home, and it's real chilling to watch. They are definitely putting on an intimidation show here, and not one that I think is particularly lawful. Per Heather Cox Robertson, all 4 of the people arrested in the past 24 hours are black. This morning, the official social media account of the White House posted a picture of Lemon with the caption, "When life gives you lemons," and an emoji of chains evoking the chains of enslavement. All right, another big headline from yesterday. Many more of the Epstein files were released. I heard on the local news on my jazz radio station while I was visiting my parents out in the burbs, and we were starting to see some of the details from that latest batch of over 1 million documents that were released hit the headlines. In particular, things to note so far, Donald Trump seemed to be incredibly verifiably related to the actions of Jeffrey Epstein, which is nothing too surprising, but some of the graphic natures of the allegations against him in this latest document are pretty damning. There seem to be strong ties between multiple of the perpetrators in Epstein's inner circle, including Trump, to Israel. There seems Bill Gates allegedly caught an STD on Epstein's island and tried to get antibiotics to use on his own, now ex-wife, to keep her from knowing about it. Howard Lutnick, Treasury Secretary, visited the island in 2012 and stayed in touch with Epstein until at least 2018. And the newly selected chairman of the Federal Reserve, who's going to be succeeding Jerome Powell in May, had his name revealed in the massive sex trafficking conspiracy centered around Epstein only hours after the announcement of his name was made. So yeah, again, that is going to be a transition that is supposed to take place in May, and he has voiced a willingness to lower interest rates per Trump's command, which doesn't say great things for kind of defense of the value of the American dollar. In other alarming news, we are seeing news reports of technological retribution against white-collar workers. So the story that we have linked here is from a 56-year-old director at Target Corporation. 3 days after having her face scanned by an ICE agent during the action here in Minnesota, she has now had her TSA pre-check and global entry airport fast track removed. So as somebody who has long been concerned with personal data privacy and America's lax or missing personal data privacy laws, this one definitely sets off alarm bells. This looks like a clear case of weaponizing technology against white-collar workers in order to force silence and complicitness with the current lawless administration's actions. So the last big news stories we have today are admittedly from a place where I wouldn't normally go to source news from, but I've gone ahead and posted both of the articles here. These hit directly at the intersection of big tech and the stock market. So this one I saw because it was in the Wall Street Bets subreddit. For those of you who are not familiar with what that means, Wall Street Bets is a subreddit or a volunteer moderated community posting board on the Reddit website. It's a community based around treating the stock market like a gambling institution. And the posts there that are generally most upvoted or celebrated are known as gain or loss porn, where somebody either made or lost a stupid amount of money, generally with high risk stock option investment strategies or lack thereof, just attempting to capitalize on turbulent markets. So with that said, not a place I'm going to recommend anybody gets their financial advice from. However, what happens on Reddit is if enough posts from any subreddit, or if a post from any subreddit gets enough votes, it can show up on the front page of the whole site. And that's what happened to a couple of these news articles that were posted there. Both of these articles center around the $100 billion triangle between OpenAI, NVIDIA, and Oracle that was announced last September. So in short, to summarize that, if you're not too familiar with it, there was an announcement last year that these three companies would be paying each other enormous sums of money. NVIDIA to invest $100 billion into OpenAI to help it train AI models, OpenAI to pay Oracle for use of net new data centers that Oracle's building out, and Oracle to buy $100 billion worth of GPUs from NVIDIA to build out those data centers. So ultimately, huge amounts of money, but just going in a circle. So the first big news is reporting that Oracle can't necessarily afford its all-in strategy on data centers that it has decided to go with without any of its employees' consent. And that there's a serious consideration right now, or at least a rumor of one from the top level, of selling off Oracle Health portion of their business. So that would entail laying off up to 30,000 people that make up Oracle Health, formerly Cerner, in order to make up free cash flow necessary to continue with all the data center build-outs. Second, the part of the deal that Oracle isn't directly involved in is simply at risk of not being possible between OpenAI and NVIDIA. We're seeing reports from NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang that he has openly questioned OpenAI's governance, their structure, and their capabilities compared to other big tech AI efforts such as Google and Anthropic. One of the bright spots of being pulled out of the working world for the past few weeks, as I focus on things here at home, is that I have not had to hear any of the unending AI crap that has become just ubiquitous in the white-collar workplace within the past couple of years. As a 15-plus year corporate tech employee, I can say without reservation that while there are some useful innovations from recent large language model technology, like code writing assistants, I think the risks that AI poses far outweigh its benefits. Right now, a lot of the focus on AI development is on AI agents. And these are essentially autonomous systems that are able to perform actions in some sort of computerized or even, physical system, rather than the common chatbot style AI or GPT systems that most consumers are engaging with at the moment. So all of the investment that all of these big tech companies are putting in right now, a just completely unheard of amount of resources, is predicated on AI as a whole being a net economic windfall. And while AI company stock prices, for those tech companies focusing all of their effort there, are still rising, I have a really hard time believing this is anything other than a mass hallucination of the emperor's clothes. If AI cannot replace significant chunks of the workforce as expected, then we will have wasted billions of dollars and the time and effort of thousands of well-meaning professionals having them chase that goal. Unfortunately, many professionals caught up in this have lost faith in the companies or so-called business leaders that control our labor and our focus. If AI really can replace all of those white-collar workers, then we're going to see mass unemployment on a previously unknown scale. And we have no social safety net in place. Instead of a well-educated workforce that has checks and balance inherent to our human conditions in performing all of the actions that any powerful organization would perform, we'll have simply placed all of that power over every critical institution into the hands of people who have proven that they cannot responsibly wield power. And neither of those outcomes are desirable.